Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining today's EAC webinar. This is Cassie Stumo. I am the marketing specialist at EAC. Today we'll be talking about how you can quickly identify and solve design issues using simulation with ANSYS Discovery Live. We'll begin today's session with an introduction of EAC, and then Todd Kraft, our technical account manager and ANSYS expert, will be taking over. This session is being recorded. Unless there are any technical difficulties, then everyone will receive a replay after the webinar. So please feel free to drop questions in the chat and we'll answer them after the presentation. So I do see some familiar faces, but for those of you who don't know who we are, I'll start off with a quick introduction to EAC. Our mission is to transform the way companies design, manufacture, connect to, and service their products. We partner with ANSYS to bring our customers high-end simulation software to reduce design time and bring products to market faster. We're also a solutions provider for PTC, offering our customers products such as service lifecycle management software to help create and manage service documentation, product data management software like Windchill and ThingWorx Navigate, which helps organizations manage their internal product data. And we implement the Internet of Things and augmented reality into business strategies and assist with design and engineering projects. And then we also offer training courses and webinars for continuous learning. We're also a commercial reseller for Formlabs 3D printers. So we really have a variety of tools to help your organization save time and money. So please keep us in mind when it comes to your product development needs. I will mention quickly that we do have some upcoming webinars this month. The next one is on Tuesday, August 28th, on creating 3D animations and illustrations for interactive service documentation. And then the other one is on Wednesday, August 29th, on enhancing analysis capabilities using Creo 5.0's new extension called Creo Topology Optimization, which is to lightweight parts and assemblies. So please register or pass on the information to others in your organization who might be interested in these webinars. And I will pass things on to Todd to discuss how you can use ANSYS Discovery Live for simulation.
All right, a few slides first, and then we will go ahead and do a demonstration of Discovery Live. So just a little background, the product development cycle, customers are asking for products quicker, and that's causing companies to shorten their design time. And there's three phases, really: the idea or concept time, the refinement and validation. And typically in a typical customer, that refinement and validation is when the simulation is happening. But simulation is one of the biggest differentiators from top companies to really deliver top products to the field and to the world. So companies want to get simulation into their design process faster, quicker, and earlier. But the problem is that the design engineers they outnumber the expert analysts and people that do analysis in the company. So we want to get that analysis or simulation into the hands of those design engineers so that simulation can happen more often and drive better products. So typically the reason that design engineers don't use simulation is they're just difficult to use. They take a long time, especially early on. They're very complicated. They're expensive. Companies don't want to have a lot of different softwares and lots of seats of those. The CAD embedded tools are just not capable enough, and it's difficult to move from ideation to validation. So expert analysis time is wasted on simple stuff. So we want to get those types of simulations into the hands of designers. So that's really the reason or where the Discovery product family comes into play. So the top is Discovery Live. That's the one I'm going to be talking about today and demonstrating. instantaneous design and simulation, real-time results, and then the higher fidelity next step down there is in this slide, next step up, I would say, is Discovery AIM, where you have multi-physics, more exact and accurate answers. And then today they're built on the platform of SpaceClaim. That's the geometry tool in there. I'm going to talk about that in a second, how that's changing with respect to EAC and the companies we represent. But what does Discovery Live provide? Again, real-time, instantaneous simulation, extremely easy to use, multiple physics, one single UI, and easy to manipulate geometry. And then benefits, again, are better products, faster product development, and just a focus on simulation for those expert analysts. One thing I want to bring up, a couple months ago, PTC and ANSYS announced a partnership where Discovery Live will be integrated into PTC Creo. So what that means is that the software I'm showing today will be outside of Creo, but as you can see in this screenshot in the bottom, Discovery Live, or Simulate Live as PTC will call it, will be right inside the UI. So that's a very exciting partnership that EAC we can leverage because we represent both PTC and ANSYS. So Discovery Live has structural analysis, internal and external CFD, thermal and modal. Those are the different types of physics that you can do with Discovery Live. So with that, I'll go ahead and start my demonstration. So let me minimize this. This is the landing page for Discovery Live. And you can see I can choose some sample models. I can choose different physics I want to solve. Just if I pick an example model like this bracket here, just to show you how quick it is, I open the model, and this sample model actually applies the boundary conditions for me. I've got a fixed constraint over here, and I've got a load going over here on the right side. So the way this works is I can change that load anytime I want to. I can actually like reverse it if I want to. Maybe a -200 here goes up, and then the real-time simulation updates for me automatically. Okay, and if I would go ahead and maybe just take this whole entire chunk of material out of there, the real-time simulation goes ahead and updates again. Again, no meshing, no post-processing, everything happens automatically. I can take this simple example over, or this little geometry over here, and move it a little bit this direction, like that, and up a little bit, over some more. And again, every time I move geometry, my simulation updates for me. So I can come up with dozens of design ideas without having to worry about meshing, post-processing, and importing. All that stuff doesn't matter because I can do all that stuff real time inside of Discovery Live. So that's an example model. Let's go ahead and close that one. And we'll go to, this is a Polaris snowmobile that's in Creo 5.0. And we're gonna analyze this little bracket down at the bottom. So again, in a few months, we'll actually have an applications here and actually be able to use Discovery Live right inside this UI. But today we're gonna go ahead and go over here to, I just went ahead and imported it. We can, in Discovery Live, you can import geometry directly from Creo and SolidWorks and all the main CAD tools out there. It's very easy to open them directly natively. So what we're going to do is go ahead and start a simulation as a structural, and we're going to just say structural steel, and I'm just going to pick that one body right here to analyze. The rest of them will be there just kind of as onlookers here. And what I have to do is just apply a few constraints here. So I guess I would put maybe this top part up here, that up there, and maybe down here. There's a couple of hidden surfaces there, that one and that one. Those are going to be fixed. okay? And then we're gonna put some kind of load in here, maybe these two surfaces, and I can put a force. You can put forces on here, displacements, you know, force displacements. I'll pick on a force and just give it a value, and automatically, no meshing, nothing else, I get a simulation on the fly. Again, to do this kind of stuff outside of Discovery Live takes a lot more setup. Now in Discovery Live, super quick, accurate answers. Okay, so if I want to bring in the ski leg there, I can also bring that in. I can say, let's add that to the simulation bodies here. Okay, now I have those two, and I can, you know, maybe change the material that to maybe aluminum here. And then we're gonna go ahead and apply, we've got that one force up there, let's go ahead and apply maybe a force over here as well. Let's do a new force of a larger value. And instantaneous, again, I have new stresses, displacements all presented to me right on the fly. I can make that a little bit more easier to see here. Drag this down a little bit. So super easy, extremely, you know, somebody who's doing design work can easily just bounce over to do a simulation. That's the idea, so that we're not spending time, you know, doing simple stuff for an analyst. We can use simulation to drive to better designs, okay? So I think at that point, I'm gonna go ahead and close that one. Let's just close that. Let's bring in another structural example. And I'm gonna open up this model here. This is another structural example. We have a pretty complex weldment here of a train bogie. And I'm just gonna say, let's go create a solution. We could easily look at the modal frequencies of this first. Fluids wouldn't really make a whole lot of sense in this one. Thermals right there. Let's just say structural and just say create. It's gonna use the entire assembly for us. And then we just have to apply some boundary conditions. So I'm gonna pick on some surfaces there and there, where this thing is, where the wheels are bolted on. Those 6, and then the last 2. Right click, add a fixed support. And again, a model like this might take, in some simulation software, it might take a while just to mesh. And then before you run it, and you're gonna look at the mesh, and maybe you might find some areas where there's gaps, or there's just some issues with some stuff. You might spend a lot of time defeaturing because you don't want to put elements in different areas. Well, here I can just pick now some surfaces. Let's do a force, and I don't know how heavy this would be, something like that. And I can then see my results right away. Okay, instantaneous, no waiting around. I can see exactly where the highest stress points are at in my model. I can think about adding gussets or reinforcements, plates in some areas. I can choose if I want a really fast solution or if I want a higher fidelity solution, a more accurate solution. Basically, it's just kind of a result of how, do I want to wait half a second, or do I want to wait 2 seconds is really all I'm waiting there for. I can look at von Mises stresses. I can look at deformation. Okay, there's my deformation there. I can look at directional stresses, normal stresses, reaction loads, composites here, where's the highest stresses inside the model there. Okay, all kinds of way of looking at the data to help me make better design choices as a designer. Okay, all right, so that's a structural example. Let's go ahead and do a couple of fluid examples next. I have another session here. I'm just gonna open that one. Okay, so again, we can do external flow or internal flow. Again, there's simple, this is the one of the sample models is this little dump truck, and instantaneously I can see in this dump truck how the fluid flow of the wind direction happens in this little wind tunnel. And again, I can pick on geometry and move it real time, because as I move that real time, everything updates accordingly. Okay. So just to get to this point in most CFD software, you're waiting quite a while, a lot of setup, meshing, cells, controlling your mesh. Again, this is instantaneous, real-time transient analysis. Velocities, pressures, I can graph things to look at them as well. I can look at this little image here, gives me a nice input on what's happening. And then I can also just take this entire model and just, why not just have two of them here? It's no big deal. Let's just keep on the same screen though, right there. And then I can see how that updates for me. Okay, I can look at streamlines, how that looks, drag it down a little bit. I can move it in the middle, see what kind of things are happening between the two bodies. Let's bring that back this way again. All right, so there's a simple example. That's a sample example. Let's go ahead and close that one and add a couple new ones. So the first one we'll do is let's just do this little solar car. I'll say open, and there's my solar car. Again, you can bring in any kind of geometry. This was done in Creo, actually. Here I have my solar car shell. I believe there's some stuff in the middle too, even. There's some parts inside. There's a frame inside as well. But all you have to do is say create solution, fluid flow, and this is going to be external with air. Okay, we could do water if you want to. I'll say create and just give the direction and the floor. And then automatically I have my simulation done for me. I can look at particle flow. It's a lot of particles. Let's minimize those a little bit. Here's our image map. It's in the wrong direction. Let's go ahead and tilt it like that and get rid of there. All right, there's our image map of what the velocities look like. And I can input and change my value of flow here. I can increase it to a different value, regenerate it, or apply it. I can also track pressures on the surfaces if I wish to. Okay, and again, really easy to add a couple. See how the solar car drafts off of others. I can put one more in there like this. I can grab this first one again. Maybe you want to rotate it a bit. What happens if I rotate it? What do the velocities look like then? All kinds of stuff here you can do with Discovery Live. And again, as I make changes to my geometry, my flow and results, everything updates for me. All right, so that's one example. Let's go ahead and close that and do some more. Let's do this little ball valve here. Okay, so here we have a little valve. It's open a bit right there, okay? So to do an internal type of flow here, and again, I don't have the water defined yet. So I'm just gonna say create, that's it, let's do water. And I have to tell it where the inlet is and where the outlet is, that's it. And bam, there's my solution for me. Automatically, super quick, reliable, accurate, any designer can do this, okay? Now the nice thing here is if I would go ahead and take this sidewall, just turn that off. Well, I want it there, I just want to hide it. Let's see if I can hide it or not. Let's do that. And then let's go ahead and take our ball here and rotate it here like that. Instantaneous, again, change. I get the design results very quickly. Okay, I can start to modify dimensions, modify the ball diameters. Everything in here is modifiable, and my results would change instantaneously. There's my streamlines. There's my particle flow through there. Everything's changeable here. I can make these a little larger to see. All right. And here's my image. This is a nice little way of looking at the image of this that shows you in like an image of what the flow looks like on that plane. All right, so that's my second to last one. We'll show one more here. Just to show again how easy it is, I'm going to go ahead and open up this car model here. The very aerodynamic Hummer here. So we're going to say create solution and say fluids, external flow again, yes. I pick on direction and a floor. And then right away, here's my design answer. Super fast. This relies a little bit on my graphics card, and I actually have a graphics card that's a lower end. So if I had a higher end one, I'd actually get things even looking better than this is. Let's change this to our composite here, and I want to look at a different look at this.
I think that's a good point, Todd. Someone did ask what kind of hardware you need to run Discovery Live.
Oh, yeah, good question. So it does require an NVIDIA graphics card with at least 4 gigabytes of RAM or memory. So that's about all you need. And then if you have that, you are all set. Sometimes there are questions that appear and come up. Like if like myself, I actually had some hardware questions. And there's when I have Discovery Live opened, I have a forum up here. And I'll go ahead and go to that quick here. It popped up on a different screen. The forum is a community forum where you can ask questions. There's a ton of tutorials on here and videos and how-tos. Here's some latest questions. Actually, Discovery Live GPU list right there. How do I open a hole? You know, all these questions that people have. And this is monitored by ANSYS, and they provide answers very quickly. And actually, I had some questions, and I had a hardware. I just had some strange things happening with my graphics card, and a person from ANSYS actually jumped on the video with me and helped me. So it's monitored, and you can ask questions here if you have questions. So that's my last thing to show, Cassie. So are there any other questions?
I don't see any in the queue unless anyone wants to raise their hand or put anything in the chat. Thank you so much for the presentation. I think there's a lot of things that you showed today that we haven't seen yet. So thank you.
Yeah, I hope I got the point across that you know, coming up with ideas, concepts during that time of the design process, using Discovery Live can come up with way more ideas and products that previously customers just couldn't do because they couldn't use simulation as a design tool, but now Discovery Live definitely does enable you to do that.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us on today's webinar on ANSYS Discovery Live.